Hello and welcome to Bitch That's My Kind of Worship, a podcast by and for radical hotties the world over. My name is Lucy DK, and I'm an artist and writer obsessed with building the new world. This podcast is here to guide my fellow revolutionaries as we step into a collective healing journey that centers truth, justice, and returning to our limitless power. I will share practices, guidance, and conversations to keep your internal fires lit so you can let the old world crumble without fear and step into creating the future you were born for. It is our duty to fight for our freedom, and it is our duty to win. Hey Hotties! Today I wanted to speak about what it takes to become a revolutionary lover. And this topic is a really important and special one for me because I love love, and I feel like as a younger person, teenager, young adult, it was something I very much channeled through romance, and in coming into a deeper healing journey, it's allowed me to expand my definitions and experiences of love, and also come to greater romantic love too, through that journey. And so I think that love is something that gives us a really great starting off point for understanding spirit, because really the point of any spiritual path is to return to love and to be able to use and channel love through every word that you say, every action that you take, every choice that you make, every fight that you fight. Everything comes from a place of love. And that is easier said than done because we live in a world where there is so much conditioning to make us hate and to bring us away from love and to keep love from us and to make us feel unloved and loveless and lacking in love. And so a lot of the ways that we relate to love is from a place of reactivity, from a place of fear, from a place of lack. And so we perceive what we think to be love as something that's actually often very different. Something that's often ownership and control and desire and a lot of other elements that can create a lot of feeling and sensation, but can also lead us into a spiral of constantly chasing, seeking, wanting love and never feeling love, never embodying love, never being present in the fullness and the eternal nature and the endlessness and the expansion of true love in its fullest form. And so I think that being a revolutionary lover means committing to doing the work of love. There's an amazing book called The Work of Love by To Me, which is on Substack, and I'll link it in the show notes because I think it's such an incredible piece of work, and really like this generation's version of a bell hooks take on love. But I feel like bell hooks writings on love, All About Love, Communion, all of those books as well are such foundational pieces to understanding love from a revolutionary framework, a revolutionary perspective. And I think that to go deep into love, often in the revolutionary world and the academic world, feels like it can come with a lot of like terminology and approaches and like ways we're supposed to love and like who we're supposed to be. And even in the romantic sense, it becomes about relationship styles and types of sexuality and the type of partner we want or we are, or our boundaries, and there becomes a lot of language that comes in, and a lot of complication and complexity. And actually in a healing path, when we return to the true essence of love, what I've found in my experience is that a lot of those pieces actually fall away. And I think that they can be really helpful and guiding frameworks, especially when we're trying to unlearn and decondition ourselves from the way society has conditioned us to love. They're almost resistance frameworks, right? Like it's like, okay, we've been told this thing, like we've been told we need to be in like a patriarchal monogamous marriage, and so in order to free ourselves from the belief that that is all that love is, we need this other language to combat it, and these other alternatives and ways of living that we can point to and say, like, look at this and look at that, and how about this, and like we're almost like fighting that language with language and that style with another style. And it can be a really beautiful mode of resistance and a mode of coming into what is true for us and what is true for our identity and our feeling. But we have to also be careful that it doesn't become another box, another identity, another set of rules and limitations that cause us to actually again move further away from love and closer towards control. And so what I think is really beautiful in the promise and potential of a revolutionary healing journey when it comes to love is that love becomes actually very simple. And that doesn't mean it's easy, but it means that it's very clear, and it's a very clear feeling to connect with. And it, for me, really began with just learning how to deeply come into my heart. And I think when we study a practice that allows us to connect with different parts of our emotional body, yoga is an amazing practice for understanding the different energetic systems of the body. And, you know, in yoga, you talk about the 7 chakras, and the heart chakra as like anahata chakra, like a really important heart center, a really important place where love lives and where grief lives, you know, and where these big expansions of the heart can take place, as opposed to some of the other energy centers, right? Like the third eye, or like, you know, any other of the pieces. And of course they're interconnected, but I think what is really beautiful when we start to connect to our heart is that we start to drop into it as a place that is actually quite different to sexual and sensual desire. So in yoga, that part of the system is actually the sacral chakra, like it's like connected to sensuality and like the lower part of the body. And, you know, I'm placing my hand on my womb as I'm even talking about this, but there's this real sense that these places are connected, but they're different as well, right? And so that was something I started perceiving the more I practiced yoga, was ways in which before I would perceive people or situations and this sense of love, or I'm in love, but really then I started to be able to separate this sense of what's activating. Is it my desire that's activating? Is it my fear that's activating? And when I come into my heart, what does my heart tell me? Because the thing about love in this sense is that we seek to come into our hearts with everyone, with every situation, with every interaction, with every part of life. What does my heart tell me? And the heart often tells us actually to be firm, right? The heart can tell us to create space. The heart can tell us to forgive. The heart can tell us to speak kindly to the person who has wronged us. Like, the heart can tell us many things that don't necessarily fit into a TikTok framework or narrative of this is how you should like act in your relationship or whatever it might be. It's no longer about games or manipulation or the drama of who said what, who did what, who's right and who's wrong. It becomes about how can we move towards love, and like what does love truly mean. And so much becomes simple when we move from that place of love, and when we can see also the places where our feeling of lack is being triggered. And so we want to withhold love, right? We want to remove our love. We want to say like, oh wow, like this person didn't text me back, or like this thing, you know, that I wanted didn't manifest or come through. And so like I'm now no longer being loving to this person, to this situation, to whatever, like, you know, I'm bitter, I don't like them, I'm withholding, I'm ignoring, I'm giving them silent treatment, or I'm, you know, so many things, when actually like if we were to come into our hearts, we would see that we've been wounded, we feel sad, we feel triggered, we feel rejected. And so a lot is coming into that space. But when we operate from our heart, from a place of love, we are with God, we're with the light of the Creator. And it's almost like, like how would the light operate in this moment? Like, how does light move with this? Like, how can I offer so much light to this person and see them, not as like a jilted lover, but as a child of God? And I think that like changed so much for me when I started to take on that perspective, because not only did it challenge me to move through a lot of my own fear and my own conditioning, it showed me what happened when I did. And what happened when I did is that so much drama cleared, so much drama that I've been part of creating and perpetuating and pushing, just clears up so easily when you actually speak from your heart, move from the heart, and no longer feel like you have to operate in fear when it comes to being a lover. I think that something that is really beautiful when it comes to being a revolutionary lover is that we know that love is the foundation of everything. And so it's the foundation of every community, every friendship, every connection. And so I think as activists, as revolutionaries, are very good at knowing that. We believe in the collective, and so we believe in collective power. We believe in the interconnectedness of everybody. We believe that we should be there for each other, right? We are not typically those people who run off into a little bubble and like abandon their friends, right? Like when we fall in love, like revolutionaries and activists actually tend to be the people who are really in community and who are really like with a lot of people around. And so I think that is actually often not our challenge, but I think what our challenge often actually is also humbling ourselves to the fact that we need love too, and we need to feel loved in certain ways, and we desire certain things from our lives, and that those things don't make us actually part of the system. Because so often the system can co-opt certain things and make them seem like, even with relationships, and I think this in a way when we look at like heterosexual relationships, right? And in a world where there is patriarchy and there is violence, and there can be this like real narrative of men are so dangerous to women because they can be in certain ways, right? And so I think what is really interesting in these moments is how do we actually look at that from, again, a true ethic of love, and how do we acknowledge that we can love one another, that we can create loving connections, loving relationships, and not actually let the system do what it wants to do by dividing, by separating, by making us all scared of each other, by making us really anchor into a belief system that keeps us from love, from affection, from touch. And that doesn't mean, right, that we then have to go and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to be in the patriarchal, violent, monogamous marriage that like I've been told, or I can't have anything else. Like, it's never that. But it is about saying, if I come into my heart, if I move from a place of love, if I am truly a vibration of love, like if I can truly like step into that and see the world through those eyes, then I'm able to create the relationships and experiences around me that really match up to the way that I'm operating. And that doesn't mean I'm not gonna see violence and I'm not gonna experience fear and all these things, but it does mean that there are different ways through, and there are more opportunities that open up to me. And that has certainly been the case in my life, where I experienced so many frequencies and vibrations of really relationships that were steeped in a lot of violence or fear or these things. And in undergoing my own transformation, I was able to see how I attracted so much light and stability and safety and enjoyment, and so it's also about understanding and remembering that every lover is a mirror, a magnificent mirror. And so much of the narrative in our culture at the moment especially tries to constantly make us project, constantly make us blame, and point and say, like this person and this thing and nobody is good enough for me, and all these people are doing this to me, and how it's so unfair, and there's no good people out there, da 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 da. And how much further from the truth could that be, right? And everyone who we come across in our path is a direct reflection of what we are being asked to learn and what we are creating and what we are experiencing and what we are putting into the world. And that's never to shame or to create a sense of, we're at fault and we need to feel really bad. And, if I've created this, then that means I don't deserve anything. And I should, this terrible person who's being terrible to me, that must mean that I'm terrible and I don't deserve anything better. It's not that. It's like understanding that, wow, like what wounded parts of me called this in, like what parts of me have been really attracted to that, like where am I actually hurting myself, where am I not opening myself to the eternal nature of love, where am I operating from a place where I believe that love is rare and scarce and not for people like me. Right, because I think that's also another belief system that a lot of us from certain lineages where there's been violence and colonialism and oppression, is that we don't deserve to be loved and resourced through deep love. Like we have lineages often with a lot of abandonment, often with a lot of alcoholism, often with a lot of fear, because what happens when you are in a community that experiences war, violence, colonial power, is that a lot of wounds and scars open up within that lineage, right? And a lot of people, they start to run, they start to be afraid. A lot of people start to silence and like be quiet and no longer have that community conversation and connection within the home. And there is lots of silence, there is lots of blockages when it comes to emotional communication, and there's a lot of fear to be asked, how are you feeling? Like that's a question that can actually trigger and like bring up so much, because that's the sense of needing to be fine and needing to be okay, and like let me just, like I don't want to be going into this healing with you. And I think for me, one of the deepest pieces of my journey when it came to love, especially romantic love, was that vulnerability of having to open. And I feel like there are a few stages of that, like the stage of at first being open and having such a tidal wave of emotion come in, right? I think the first time I ever like raised my voice at anyone was when I had my first boyfriend, and I got triggered. We said something, we had a fight, and suddenly I'm screeching, and I was so shocked because I was like, I've never spoken like that, and it was like my communication was so violent. And I think to look back at that and see myself as such a young adult and suddenly realizing that this intimacy was something I had never done before, and I didn't know how to open myself to be seen, right? And that I was so afraid, and that all of these childhood wounds were suddenly open, because that's what intimacy and love can do, right? It can open you up and strip you back and like completely take off the masks that you've been holding for so many years. And that's why it is the work of love. It is the work of love, because there are so many pieces that you have to actually dive into, and often we're not given the tools to do that. And so often we're actually helping each other through that as lovers, as partners. And I think that's why we actually have to give each other so much gratitude, whether it's our friends, whether it's our lovers, whether it's our partners, whether it's our family, our chosen family. We have to know that we are holding each other through some of the most important work of our time. And when it comes to looking at this world and the way the world is moving and the next generation, these interrelational skills, these ways that we treat each other, these ways that we learn how to love, are perhaps the most important things that we will ever do, perhaps the most important way that we could ever spend our time. And so when we see a relationship as something that is just giving us a space to be held in between work days, right? It's just like a relaxation, it's just a chill, it's just like Netflix. Like that is such a disservice to what a relationship truly is. And I think that is the difference I saw between my shift from when I was first in relationships, quite unconsciously, versus when I started going into my own deeper healing journey, because then it became so clear to me that like relationships were such a key part of that guided journey. And before that, it was almost like, oh, my relationship is just my place to like unwind and like thank God. And you know, that part of it is so important. And in this world, it's so important to have that space, to be able to be held and be intimate and to experience touch and care and support and all the things. But also it's about us being able to come together and grow together and move together and like navigate through all these things that life shows us. We're here to learn and we're here to experience. And I think that activeness and proactiveness in coming to love as that practice makes a real marked difference when it comes to the kind of relationship we're able to have and the kind of person we're able to be and the kind of freedom we're able to feel within that love as well. And so I think when I think about being a revolutionary lover, it's about really taking all of that practice and all of that learning as a mutual collective responsibility, and knowing that any true union, whether it's between two friends, two lovers, two people, is actually for the greater whole, it's for the greater collective. And so however we choose to go into relationships, whether we're polyamorous, whether we're monogamous, whether we change the way we date, whether we date people of all genders, whether we date in a particular way, a particular style, whatever it is, it's not really important. What is really important is that we are in our heart. And there's a great person I listened to on our podcast who said something really hilarious when he was asked about relationships and love, because he was like, well, isn't the whole point of a spiritual journey to love everyone? So like we get ourselves into such a pickle and like such a turning ourselves up and down and tearing our hair out, and it's like all we're ever asked to do in any moment is to love everyone. And so if we can love everyone, including the person right in front of us, if we can do that, we will be shown what is supposed to happen. If we're in our heart, we will know how to act, what to say. And this was a beautiful insight that I got from one of my friends when we were sitting on the top deck of a London bus like a few years ago as well. Was I was really like in a stress over like a relationship, and I was so like, oh, like I don't know what to do, and like so much just like drama, and not drama but just like that like hopeless feeling of like, oh my God, and like it's so. And I remember her just being like, you don't need to act. Like if you're in your heart, if you're with God, like things will unfold. Like what will happen, what's supposed to happen will happen. And I think that is so true, that when we are grasping with all these different potentialities, it's so often a clue that we're really in our mind and that we're trying to control and we're trying to choose. And actually when we feel at peace, that is when we come to clarity, and that is when the clarity will unfold for us. Maybe somebody else will act, maybe we will act because it's inspired action, right? And when we're just trying to control an outcome, it never is going to be fully in our highest favor. It's never going to be fully in flow. And so that's something I've really adopted over the course of my journey too, is wait, like stand still. And then when you know, and you act and you speak and the words come and you don't have to prepare them. I remember when I was younger, I used to like make like notes in my phone with like paragraphs of like what I needed to say. And like if there was like a big conversation I was going to have with a lover, it was like, oh my God, like these are the points I need to make. And it was all scorecarding, right? It's all like, this is how I felt, or like this is how you made me feel, or this is what da da da. And it's like all of this, as soon as you have like a paragraph, like it's already like but when you can just be present, and speak from the heart and speak when there is something to say, and hold silence when there is nothing to be said, and hold gaze and be present in somebody's eyes, and be present in somebody's arms and not force your desire onto someone or have them force their desire onto you, but just to be present in that space. And I think that demands a lot from us. I think it demands so much unlearning, so much deconditioning. It's not how we're raised in this world. Like, it's just not. At least it definitely wasn't how I was. But I think the beautiful promise is that we can raise the next generation in that way, and we can make that possible. And so many of us are on these journeys now, and that is truly revolutionary. It's revolutionary. And I think the most important thing to say is that when we are loved, when we are resourced, when we experience beautiful intimacy in whatever form that is for us, whatever feels right in our lives, whatever makes sense for the people that we are and what we're here to do, we power the collective, we make the collective stronger. There is a web that forms around us of people who can gravitate to our love and our light, and the foundation that we're able to create and the grounding that we're able to create for our community. And when that arrives, when that dawns on us, we see the power of love, and we're renewed in love, and we are reminded that to go out into the world with love in our hearts every single day is what is asked of us. And it's not easy, it's beautiful. It's not easy, it's necessary. It's not easy, it's God-given. And that eternal love is a feeling. You can meditate and feel love anytime, any moment, any day. Love is not something you have to seek. Love is within you. Love always exists within you. And I think cultivating that practice in your heart is one of the most important things that you can ever do. I remember on a retreat that I went to last summer, we did the prayer of the heart, and it was in the Sufi tradition. And so we were listening to some beautiful music and doing a deep meditation into the heart. And what really surprised me was there were so many layers to the heart. And you kind of start at the surface level and you're kind of in your own desire, but that's actually really the ego. Like, it's still the mind, and you have to descend and descend and descend. And like, then when you're at the bottom, when you're really deep in the deepest layers of your heart, that is when the truth is revealed to you. And often, sometimes it's not the truth that you want, but it's the truth that you need. And I always know I'm in my heart when the tears come. And sometimes it's grief. Like, the heart for me is very much where my grief sits. But sometimes it's elation, it's bliss, it's ecstasy. It's that feeling of being united with the divine. And so the heart has the capacity to hold all of it. The heart has the capacity to hold it all. And our hearts get really mucky. They get really messy. They get really congested and weighed down with stuff. And so I have a practice of clearing my heart most days before I go to bed, or when I wake up. I listen to some heart chakra frequency healing music, and I just close my eyes and I lie down or I sit down and I really feel into my heart. And so let us do a heart meditation now. So if you want to get into a comfortable position, maybe you want to sit with your legs crossed. Maybe you want to lie down. But wherever you are, as long as you're not driving, close your eyes. And I want you to just feel into your heart. You can even put a light finger or thumb over your heart if it's helpful. You can just feel into it energetically. And I want you to just firstly thank your heart for carrying you to this moment. Because our heart is the place that holds us through every emotion of this life, every high, every low. It captures all of it. It holds all of it. That's why we have to clean it out sometimes, often. We have to give it its space back because it needs its space. We can't be carrying everything in there. It's heavy. But we thank it because it holds so much. It has such a huge capacity. And our heart is one of our greatest signals. It's how we know when something is for us. It's how we know when we are in alignment, when we're walking in the path of the light, when someone crosses our path who we have to know, we're supposed to know, we need to know. It's how we know that the job is not for us or is for us. That's how we know we need to take a moment. We need to go and lie down and have a moment alone. It's how we know we're too lonely. We need to see a friend. Our heart tells us so much. When we listen to our heart, we are gifted so much clarity. And so I want you to make a commitment to your heart now. That you're here and that you will listen. And that you're not going to stop listening. And that if you forget to listen, you'll tune back in as soon as you remember. That your heart is just begging to be listened to. You can tell your heart, you don't need to worry. I'm here now. I'm here to hold you and give you a little clean, spring clean, and keep you light and bouncy and spacious. Thank you, heart. Thank you, heart. Thank you, heart. And as we come to close this episode on becoming a revolutionary lover, I just want to call in all the love that you deserve in your life, all the love that is coming to you, that is already in your field, in your energy field, that you just need to open to. You just need to allow your heart to soften, to open, to feel the love that is already all around, the love that is already within. And may that love manifest in the exact forms that you need it. And may you be love, may you be a vessel of love, may you be a vibration of love. May you love everybody, even the people you fear, even the people you claim to hate. May you love them. May you not abandon anybody. When you need to come out of connection with somebody, may you do so with love. May you send them love energetically. May you forgive them for any drama you've been caught up in together. May you forgive them any violence against you. May you forgive yourself for any violence that you've enacted in the name of love. May we all be purified. May our hearts be spacious. May our hearts be light. May our love be expansive. May anyone we love create a vortex of love that everybody just around us gets sucked into and just can't help but feel the juiciness and the jubilation and the ecstasy, the bliss of our eternal love, which comes from God, which comes from all things, seen and unseen. living, dead, in the sea, in the sky, in the trees, on the land, in our classrooms, even in our offices, in our forests, in our cars, in our boats, on our planes. May there be love everywhere. Love all around, love up the mountain, love underground. May there be love everywhere. May love be in me. May love be in you. May our love be truly revolutionary. Aho. Bye. Love you. You've been listening to Bitch, That's My Kind of Worship, and you can follow Radical Hotties on Substack for more where that came from. See you next time.